Hey, She Slayers, and welcome to another episode of She Slays the Day podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauryn Brunswick.
And I am your co-host, not Dr. Kirby Brunswick.
2 episodes in a row you're on here.
I'm everywhere.
Our new mic setup is weird. Am I allowed to turn and talk?
Yeah, just turn the mic so you're still talking down the barrel of it.
I am so awkward. I don't know how to.
You're really awkward. I wish there was a picture of this. Especially because you're wearing an American flag shorts overalls.
Mm-hmm. And they're cool. They're very cool.
With a blue and white striped bikini top underneath. You are like the most patriotic hillbilly of all time.
Yes, that is what I strive for. And no, actually, that is not what I strive for, but only on Memorial Days. Speaking of which, so Ty, we're going camping because tomorrow's Memorial Day as we're recording this intro. And she goes, Mom, would you rather have like a lot of decorations or just a little bit of decorations? And I'm like, I need context. What? And she's like, for holidays. And I was like, well, for Christmas and Halloween, I would do a lot of decorations. And for every other holiday, I would just do just a little. And she goes, why do we even celebrate Memorial Day? And so then I explained that Memorial Day is celebrating, all of the soldiers and people who have served, protecting America and, for our freedom. I give the thing. She goes, so that sounds like a pretty big deal. Why wouldn't you want a lot of decorations? And I'm just like, you are right.
You go all out for Halloween, but you won't show up for the troops who sacrificed everything. Yeah.
So,
from the mouths of babes.
Yeah. Well, I've learned from your mom saying so many times that this is your feedback or this is your karma and payback. So I'm suffering it now. But yeah, she's manipulative a little bit. Okay, so today, we have a listener highlight that kind of goes into a question. So it's this is from Dr. Sierra Shorts, and it's an Instagram message, and it says, a year into practice, I have learned so much, and thanks to you, helped prevent a lot of mistakes. I'm going to pause. Interesting thing, Kirby. You know what I learned about my human design? So I am a human design 3-5. I don't know. If you guys think that I am going to all of a sudden start becoming a human design person instead of Enneagram, you are incorrect.
There are too many books into the Enneagram. We know too much.
I just like it too much. I like it too much. The human design is like, it's fine. It's fine. Anyways, I'm a 3-5. And so apparently the 5 means that I must learn from my own mistakes. I cannot learn from other people's mistakes.
Interesting. Frustrated, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
But here's the thing is that's not fully true. More the issue that you have is that you can't learn from me, but you can learn from other experts.
No.
Because you take outside experts' word as gospel
that is
when they
not
tell
true.
you things that I told you 6 months ago.
That is not true. I take other people's advice when it resonates with what I want to do. And when I am ready to do it. So I just filter all things through that. Anyways, so I helped her not make mistakes. You probably helped too. So it goes on to say, as I am starting to grow, I have looked into different practice management groups, group consulting, marketing companies, and one-on-one coaching. How did you decide to work with one in order to help scale your practice? I have gotten so many different answers, and there are too many options that I feel is hard to decide which way to go. Any insights would be great, and I really hope to do the intensive with you at some point. Yeah, you should. So I will say that yes, there are a ton, and I think that is a really good thing. 2 reasons. One, kind of like Kirby was saying, like I take experts' advice, and I go like, no, I take who's resonating with where I'm at that moment. And so I think that there are naturally, I mean, this is just my opinion, and it's a landmine of a conversation, especially because I have had probably no less than 10 different chiropractors who are very dear to me on the podcast who provide a service such as this. I am someone who provides, I do a course, I don't do. So this looks like she's definitely looking for coaching, which, your girl Lauryn If I ever say I'm doing coaching, you can reference this episode and say, "Don't do it. I just am not made for it." So
Oh,
God
like being the
bless
coach, yeah.
coachers.
But you have benefited from a
Oh,
bunch of different coaches.
absolutely. I understand why they exist, but that is a very hard role. So I think
And
that
and I would honestly add, like, of the different coaching that you've been through, none of them were bad. They were all good. They were just
correct.
for different times of your
Yep.
life.
And I think that there's a lot to be learned from what you don't like in a coaching group as well. Like, that's an obvious thing with all things where it's like you can learn. I have given coaching groups, nearly $1,000 a month to literally go, I like 50% of what they say, and the other 50% is garbage, and I don't want it. So if you feel like you have to 100% resonate, I would say that is not true. I think that, so here's some filters that I would put it through. One, how much time and hand holding do you feel like you need right now? So there are definitely lower cost coaching groups that have a ton of ways that you can learn, pre-recorded content, Q&A group sessions. So PX, one of our sponsors, I mean, if you're a startup and you don't have $1,500 a month to be giving to some of these coaching,
Mhm.
because they're getting like
You're getting so much of their
one-on-one
time. Yep,
hourly.
and their time is very valuable, and they will particularly cater it to exactly you
Yep.
because you have all of those meetings
Yep.
with them.
So, if you're a startup or not even a startup, but like maybe you don't have that much time. Like I don't need one-on-one coaching. I want something, you know,
Or if
that
you're a self-directed learner too.
yep.
That's the other thing is if you
So
could just plow through videos and
I would
trainings.
say I this is not because he's a sponsor, but I would say PX is the greatest value that
Mhm.
exists. Like the man, it's in his practice as well. He's been told over and over, like our practice model is similar to theirs. And he's been told over and over, you gotta raise your prices. And he just believes in serving and like figuring out a way that everybody deserves this. So PX is great. I've also coached with Epic.
Mhm.
They were great.
Christy's great.
Christy's great. Nona does coaching. Nona's definitely, I think, well, I don't want to speak for her, but I think she's more at a stage where you're wanting to become really that CEO when you're leading. God, there's so many. Wasn't gonna name any because, like, I mean, there's TRP. I just went to TRP, the Remarkable Practice. They were good. I liked what they had to say. I'm not coaching with them. Luckily, so I am not coaching with anyone, but I will say as an Enneagram 3, I don't know what part of my human design this is. I attract and keep people who have a lot of knowledge very close to me as friends. So all of the people that I have listed that other people pay, I don't have to pay them. I just get to text them. So start a podcast and collect friends like that, and maybe you won't have to pay them. But in the meantime, you should coach.
Yeah, I think in summary, if I'm hearing what you're saying is like, look at what, as you're evaluating them, look at how much time is needed, look at
Hmm.
what your current needs are.
Hmm.
And I would say really assess what you're looking to improve. And then you can, usually with these coaching things, you're going to have a consult call or
Oh
you
yeah,
can
they a lot of them
DM or
do
you can
like a
ask
live event.
questions. So like find
Go to
someone
live
who
event.
has the clinic and has the career you aspire to, meets your same philosophical kind of thinking. And then if they can solve your biggest problem. Like,
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
because if you're good at
I like how you
marketing,
said in summary and then just like mentioned a bunch of things I didn't say, but they were
but
good.
it's what you
You
meant to
made me look
say.
smarter. I had one more thing that I was like, oh yeah, don't get too attached to the idea that this is going to be your forever coach.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be. Like you might find someone that just is like, I continue every year to learn more and more and more. My personality is just like, okay, cool. I got what I came for. I am getting bored and need to get, not by them, just because my personality gets bored and I need to go on to the next thing. And so I know tons of chiropractors who have coached with 5 or 6 different coaching companies over the course of their 15 to 20 years in practice, loved and got something from every single one of them. So,
And knowing that, that helps you get over the analysis paralysis of selecting one. select one, try it out, start, get what you can. And if they're great, you might stay with them forever.
Okay, so our guest today, this is a date night episode. And speaking of somebody really knowledgeable that I hold dear as a friend, so this is Dr. Denisa Weber and her husband, Tristan Weber. They totally sent me a bio that I deleted by accident.
I don't know why you delete their store. They can stay forever in the cloud, but you always go through and delete messages.
I don't,
I have like 40,000 emails in my
I don't,
thing.
I just, and I deleted it too long ago that Gmail got rid of it. So I bet you it was really nice. It was probably something.
I'm sure she like literally trains people on communicating. So I'm sure she communicated very well.
I know. I'm sorry, Denisa. Don't be mad. I still love you. Okay, so they're going to tell a lot of your story. So you are going to get that they are a strong Christian Texan couple.
They're awesome.
And they are people that you want to hang out with. Like, you will listen to this episode. I was just grinning like a dork during so much of this episode because they would both go on, not a tangent. That's a bad way of like, they would be talking and it was almost like they were like, you could just tell they're preaching from their heart and their core values. They just bleed out their core values in like everything they're saying. So this was a beautiful episode. I really liked this episode.
Yeah, it's really entertaining when you have people who have so much experience in communicating clearly and with purpose. So like her as a speaker and teacher and chiropractor and him as a coach. Like,
are you still convinced he's a 3? I could see a 2-3-3-2.
Yeah.
Like, or him being a 2-3, her being a 3-2.
Yeah, I could definitely see it because like he went down a path where the hard thing too is with any of these things, like how healthy are they?
Oh yeah, that's
Like
true.
an unhealthy 3 needs the spotlight. And maybe earlier in his career, he was chasing the next coaching job to like
Yeah,
get the bigger and
that's
better and
true.
all of that. And then like through their deep Christianity and their marriage and everything, now he's like, and now I'm, not pursuing that because
You
my
know what I
family's more important.
will say is very nice about human design? Again, not switching boats, but you don't have to figure out what your human design is. You put in like the location, the date of birth, and the time. And it's like, boom, this is your human design. There's no like, well, maybe I'm this. It's like, nope, this is what you are, which
I feel like that's potentially the downfall of it though too.
okay, well, this is not a human design episode. So anyways, they're supposedly both 3s. I do buy it, but mature 3s apparently. All right. Anything else that we need to cover?
I don't think so.
All right. Then go ahead and prayer it up. We should have made them pray.
Oh yeah.
Oh, she gives good prayers.
Yeah,
I
she's
do
so
think
soulful.
we'll have it in the show notes, but Denisa has been on the podcast before. Oh,
It might be
it might be in the vault.
In the Patreon vault.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want,
I have a feeling it's like
check.
episode 30 something.
Yeah, I think so. So if you want to listen to it, go to the Patreon link in the show notes and subscribe, and you can hear the original one because that was good too.
You only have to pay $3.99 to listen to it. And then you can listen to all the 50 episodes that are in the vault. And then you could cancel next month if you want. If you're like, screw you, I'm not giving you $4. That's fine.
Or you could subscribe to the higher tiers and get awesome content.
I will tell you, I did say that's fine. But you should know that one of the things that I'm really dealing with hard in life is rejection. So I do feel rejected, but it's okay. I love you. It's okay. Without further ado, let's have Kirby pray.
All right. Dear God, thank you for bringing people like Denisa and Tristan into our lives as a reminder that it is not a choice between spirituality and material success, that you can integrate spirit into your daily life while serving people, while growing a business, while building a career. And as long as it's part of that you'll guide our steps and know what to do with it. Thank you for these conversations. They enrich my life and our marriage. And just thank you for these beautiful people who are willing to share their experience and their life with us. And I hope all the listeners can get as much out of it as we did. In your name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. Without further ado, we have Tristan and Dr. Denisa Weber. Enjoy. Yeah. Tristan, are you techie?
Ish.
Yeah.
You sort learn by solving the problem in front of you, and then once you've solved enough problems, it's like, oh, you like know about computers and stuff, and it's like, no, I've just been the person that someone said you have to fix this, and then I Google everything.
Yeah. And I think we're both probably sitting next to the person that's like, hey, figure this out.
Well,
Exactly.
what I find is interesting. So you're both, do you know that they're both threes? Or has that changed? But that's what you told me years ago. Are you both threes?
I'm a 3.
Yeah, I'm more, gosh, I'm real bad with the Enneagram numbers.
I'm 3 and 2.
No, I'm not 9.
I said I thought you were a 9.
Yeah,
and
but
you said
No, I'm not 9.
You said that you were 3.
It's a, you know.
I still think
a healthy 9 goes to 3. So
here we are.
Okay, so that makes sense. But I mean, the world can coexist with 2 3s in a household. I was just wondering, like, who wins?
It feels like there's 2 3s at times.
Well, and like seeing I don't know, you don't seem, well, Denisa, I'm not dissing you in the process. This is more of a 3 thing. But like, Tristan, you don't seem like flashy about like, look at this stuff I do. Look at what I'm doing.
It's because I do it for him.
Yeah.
It's because I have to do it for him. Like,
no, I don't know. I've never, I feel like that's something that I thrive on is I love being the one that kind of pushes the other, you know, I playing football and sports, like I feel like it was ingrained in me throughout my life that like you accept the criticism and you deflect the praise because that's what a good teammate does.
Oh no, I will flip that. I will accept the praise and not ever want the criticism. So we just finished our first round of the course, and somebody was, oh my gosh, my adrenals are like done.
The end product was really good. Making the end product and executing it was very difficult.
Yeah. So somebody said like, well, yeah, and it's your first time, so you're gonna ask for feedback, right? And I'm like,
oh, it's scary asking that. Yeah, I got some criticism on that. My friend
was like, you're gonna ask for feedback, right? And I'm like,
got to.
Yeah, of course I'm gonna ask for feedback. I'm just not gonna read it. I'm gonna have Kirby read it. And then just
I'm excited about it. Like I have scientist mind of like, I want to know like where we can improve. Like
that is rejection.
I know I didn't
exactly.
Like that, so.
Absolute rejection.
It's the growth mindset.
Yeah, I don't think you're a 3.
And it feels like absolute rejection.
It is.
You don't like me.
You don't like me.
You don't like me.
Yeah. But listen,
I did this for you. Actually, I did it for me.
Then I go into
you happy.
You're the a-hole. You don't like me. Whatever. I don't need you.
All right, Coach Tristan, what's your analysis of that?
I mean, it's a cliche in coaching that you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. Like when you watch the film, like being very publicly evaluated every Friday, like kind of forces you out of and that's, again, it's like, I love to deflect the praise to the players because it's like, yeah, I worked really hard, but they did too. And it's like, I love to always push it on to other people. And then again, like my mindset was always great. We did we won the game, whatever. Next week, we got to do it again. And all the things we did well this week, the next team is going to figure out how to stop it. And so it's like, you always have to think, like I said, that's just a big part of I feel like who I am is just like, it's a constant growth of just, how can I be better? What can I do next? Tell me the good, the bad, the ugly, again, like it's being publicly evaluated is scary, but at the same time, it's also freaking awesome.
Well, that makes sense though too, that you grow that. I mean, so some people can probably handle it better naturally than others, but if you're watching, like you just grew up in football, watching film and being publicly like called out, it's like a muscle that just gets worked and stronger.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if we did that in our offices?
Weekly.
Just a
weekly. You see how she answered that new patient phone call? Fail. But then I'd get it on me too of like, see,
that's what I feel like I'm doing to my team though.
Well, yeah, that's the struggle of we've tried to incorporate. We used to just like start out with like problems, and now what we do is we ask for what were your wins for the week, and problems to solve is at the end, but we want them to like not get immediately into that fail mindset of like, we're fucking up, this is bad, like you guys did a bad job. But you got to have both. Like you want to celebrate those wins, but I think we learn more from the people who have problems and go like, I completely botched this call, or I had no idea what to do with this patient.
Yeah, but people are just, I just feel like such a jerk. I don't know. Is it a man, woman? How come baseball doesn't like review footage?
Oh, at the pro level,
they
definitely, and the coaches, even in
used to be
high
a
school
baseball
and stuff.
coach.
Yeah, we talk after games of even games that we win. You know, if we didn't get bunts down when we needed to, it's like we squeaked that one out with some big hits, but like we failed to sacrifice bunt guys in the second and third inning, and that can't happen against a better team than this. So we do.
Yeah. And baseball, talk about a sport with a ton of failure.
Oh my God.
I was talking about that the other day to somebody. It's like, yeah, that one you fail more than you succeed as a hitter.
Yeah.
It's
and
like
that's the expectation.
And they're the best. Like the best ones in the world is like 70% of the time they're walking back to the dugout and like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good ego check of like even your best games. It's like, oh, I was 2 for 4. Like that was great. And it's like, yeah, but you struck out and you flew out on the infield and you failed your team in that moment. So I say I'm sorry to my team a lot every game.
I don't think that. So like, I feel like so about 2 years ago, Kirby's brother started playing less and coaching more. And I don't know if it's because like our team is getting bigger. And so like my leadership skills I don't know, really seen the holes in my leadership. And so watching him coach, I feel like there's not enough, like coaches aren't writing enough books on leadership, or at least
you're probably just not seeing.
We're not seeing
it.
Like it's like this light bulb. I was gonna say, Denise is like, oh, they write books, but like
we have a lot of them in our home.
I don't feel like at least the chiropractic profession. I feel like we look to other chiropractors to like tell me how to be a better leader. Tell me how to be a better leader. And there was like this light bulb that went off a couple of years ago, where I'm like, wow, being a coach of a team is like dynamic. It is insane how much work, and there's so much like good there to like learn and squeeze from that.
I feel like we should probably explain your guys' backgrounds too for people who aren't from
intros for.
Okay, we'll explain.
We've already started, right? Like,
We've just made all these references because we know each other fairly well.
Oh my gosh,
we'll get your bios.
We'll put it in the intro.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm always a fan though of just doing an episode without giving any context and just like confusing the hell out of people.
Just let her go.
Just be like, what? I said this was a date night. You are lucky you're there. Okay, so Tristan, are you missing? Okay, so explain what you're doing now compared to what you were doing for coaching before.
Yeah, so 16 years coaching, coaching football, baseball, track. I mean, football was kind of right in my wheelhouse. That was kind of the common thread throughout the 16 years. And then in really last about a year ago from today, I mean, it was really this time of year last year where things were kind of ramping up, things were changing, and had an opportunity. I was offense coordinator at Allen High School here in Texas, and had an opportunity to interview for the job. You know, not to say that I would have gotten the job, but I had an opportunity to interview for that job to be the head coach there. We don't live there. You know, our kids go to different schools, and we had already made some decisions for us to, moving. Our daughter was going to a new school. Our son was about to start kindergarten. Denise's practice is here. And so, we kind of put the roots down here in the Park Cities where we live. And I was driving back and forth to Allen. Allen's got a great history of football. From a career perspective, like this was really like a huge, put this on the goal list.
It's the biggest high school in the state of Texas.
Biggest high school in the state of Texas. It's where Kyler Murray graduated. They've put, right now I think in the state of Texas, they have more players in the NFL than any other school in the state. Like it's a big powerhouse program.
And likely a stepping stone to like college. NFL.
Yeah, who knows what? Like from a career perspective, like God had really put me in some great places with great players and great mentors, and it checked every box. from that standpoint of like, man, career wise, like this is what you want to do. Like if I would have drawn it up 16 years ago, this would be the opportunity I want to have. And then, I sat down and had planned like a huge, like 5-year program. Like this is what my program is going to look like. And then it was literally on a Sunday morning, about a year ago, I woke up and I told Denisa, I was like, hey, in 5 years, our daughter Layton is going to be a senior in high school. We've made the choice for her to be somewhere else that really fit, that God, opened a door for her to be at this school that just really fit the needs she had. And we were like, I told her, I was like, I don't know if things that are non-negotiable for me and Denisa and what we want to create as parents, I was like, this is a non-negotiable. Like I can't spend 100 hours a week in Allen building a program, being around everybody else's kid.
A program overall.
And I just told her, I was like, I just don't know that this is what God wants me to do. Wow. And so we really prayed about it hard for about not that we weren't praying about it. I mean, this was something we've been praying about.
It was a year of stretching. Like it was a hard year. He was gone before the kids got up and he was back after they were in bed. Like they never saw him.
Like, meanwhile, you've got
I've got a practice that is
booming and
there was a lot of stress and strain, and then it poured into in my own business life of just my capacity and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like, this is not sustainable. Right. It's not sustainable. Great for a on paper career path. Horrible for our family.
So
and something had to give.
Is that career suicide? Like, did you can you just take a 5-year and then how old is your youngest?
6. Just turned 6.
Yeah. So could you just come back in 10 years, hey guys, I'm back. Well, I did these really cool things.
Yeah. And that was kind of where I came. And I was like, you know what? I told her, I was like, I'm going to pull my name out of this job. I'm not even going to interview for it. I'm just going to up to this point, I feel like God had really opened doors, and I just really felt like God was saying, this is a closed door. Like there was
an insane amount of peace that came out of
yes.
that. It was weird. It was
weird.
I was
going to ask is after you made the decision, is there any regrets, any woulda, shoulda, couldas, or did it feel like, whoa, this is the right way?
It was actually the opposite, where over the course of really the first 3 months after making that decision, we got just continual confirmation of man, I don't know how we would have navigated that. That would have been really it was just this constant move of you know what, that was, we felt like God was just telling us this was the right decision.
And you kept getting job offers left, right, and center from other.
I had opportunities that were so you're
saying, so it was
yes.
They were come back in. Well, we got a place for you. Oh, come back here. We'll come back here. And he's like, it doesn't feel right. Yep. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. And I mean,
to answer your question, if it's career suicide, that's what my initial panic was man. But and I kind of went back to it. I had a coach even tell me that a friend of mine, he was like, well, don't you, if your son plays football, don't you want to coach him? And I kind of had that realization where I was like, you know what, in how many years, if he's playing 7th grade football, I think I could get a job as a middle school football coach somewhere. That's what I told him. I was like, and you know what, if he wants to, if I want to coach him when he's in high school, I could probably get a job as a high school assistant coach somewhere, down the road. And like I said, I started a group, did some private coaching this fall, and kind of feeling like this was just an opportunity for me to do something, to provide some value, to make some money, but also just I felt like by keeping my foot in the door a little bit in the coaching world, it would really, if God wanted me to back in there, I felt like it was going to be a big tug of okay, I need to go back into it. And I kind of found the opposite, where it was I did it this fall. I coached these kids. I was around the game, went to all of my friends' football games on Friday nights. And I just found so much joy, sitting in the stands with Denisa and Layton and Pearson, watching the game.
I'm weird, 17 years of him being on a football field every Friday. And then I was like, what are you doing? What is going on? And why? It's part of it's almost part of your identity that you've just accepted as your identity. And then, it's what am I if I'm not a coach's wife?
Well, that's what I was going to switch to you, Denisa, of have seen Friday Night Lights, and like I get really into pretty much anything that seems exciting. And so like I would definitely have been like walking around with my jacket. You get a jacket, right? Like a coach's wife jacket or something.
No, you do not get
You
a
gotta
I'd
get those
make a
custom
jacket.
made. Yeah,
I
would
would
have
have
made
wear
those.
a jacket.
It'd
I'll
say
give it to
coach on the
Lauren.
back. Oh, it'd be so cute. Maybe just a jersey. But anyway, like, yeah, I'd be like, no. I want you going on the stage. Like air quotes, like I would
Yeah.
struggle.
It's
But
fun. Like, I
I
mean,
think
there's
I'd
just
want
so
your
many,
happiness and our children's happiness eventually.
yes, like it's just like there are rituals that were super fun, and things that we would, just accepted, rhythms of our life and fall that we've just known forever. And what's so funny is we have not seen Friday Night Lights. Me and Tristan have never watched it. I have like people say like, oh, Friday Night Lights, and we're like,
What about Varsity Blues?
oh,
seen
that
that
was
one.
Everyone's
high
seen
school.
Varsity
Of course,
Blues.
you have
Oh,
seen
wow.
Varsity Blues. Of course,
We actually started.
I
we
got
watched
the
maybe
bacterial
half of
infection from the whipped cream. I all did. Some Gen Z right now is going, I don't get it. I
talking about?
don't get
go
it.
back. Yeah,
Don't do it. It's not sexy.
totally. We actually saw it the other day.
We watched, Varsity Blues was on TV, and we kind of watched about 10 minutes of it, and we are like, oh yeah, that brings back some memories there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched maybe the first half of the first episode of the series Friday Night Lights, and both of us were like, we turned it off. We're like, man,
I don't.
it's too much
It's-
drama. Like we have
we
our
are-
own.
yeah.
We're like, we couldn't handle
We didn't
the.
invest in it. I was just like, yeah. I don't know. But I mean, yeah. So it's just like that's been his like identity and his career, and we're like, of course he just turned 40 2 weeks ago, and then I turned 40 last July. But I was like, is this like midlife thing? Like, what are we doing? Like, what is going on? And I mean, I'm happy that this is your midlife thing. It's not anything else, but
Yeah, your midlife crisis is being at home with your family more.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean,
Just
let's
couldn't
Yeah,
go.
finding
Yeah,
peace
let's
and
go.
happiness there.
Yeah. But I mean, like now, I mean, there was just a whole lot of different ventures. He's actually embarked on a new career in the last 2 weeks, and
What, a new
starkly
one?
different than what he's been doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I just took a job. I'm actually doing now commercial insurance and just some other.
Really?
I was
yeah.
doing. Lauren never does any research for podcasts, but I was like,
No.
oh, I'm just gonna
I like to be
see,
surprised.
if I have some reference questions or like see what they're up to. And I saw like on LinkedIn like a day ago, you were like posted like excited to get started. I'm like, started on what? I had no idea. What to say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fresh. It's
Yeah.
fresh.
How did that
I
come
spent.
about?
Do what?
How did that even come about? Like, do you have a past history with that?
No, it was another one of those deals like, about when I kind of had the realization into the fall, over Christmas, it was a kind of a constant prayer of like, God, like, I feel the shut door of like, I feel like this is put the bow on the football coaching career. Like just, it's time for something else. It's time for something new. And so I just, that was kind of my prayer of like, okay, like, where's the door? Like, where's the opening? And so I really, Denisa encouraged me. She was like, I panicked a little bit. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is just, it's all out of left field. And it was just this constant reminder from her of like, like we had so much peace about you not doing that anymore, that we just got to resonate in that piece of like, that's the last time we really felt God was like very clearly telling me what to do, of like, hey, don't do that. And so we just kind of resonated there. And she was like, just connect, like be intentional every day, like connect with people that know you, that know what you're about, and just be curious, like what's God going to unfold today? I actually had coffee not too long after she encouraged me with that. I reached out to just a guy that I got to know. He's one of the pastors at our church, and kind of just telling him the same things. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what is a 40-year-old retired, football coach? What do I even do? And he was like, he goes, if you look in the scriptures, it doesn't say that God's going to like light your path and tell you everything that's going to happen in your future, but he does tell you that he's going to give you a lamp to your feet. And he's like, that tells me that you got to be faithful in the step today. And that's the only thing God needs you to worry about, is just the step you take right now, and being faithful in that step.
I
And he goes,
want to see the whole path.
yeah, I do
I
too.
was
And
gonna
he-
say.
yeah. And that's
No,
what he
you
said.
gotta-
He goes, if we knew where we were going to be in 10 years, he's like, we'd probably do one of two things. We'd probably either screw it up, or we'd get scared and run away.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oh pros.
And he's like, how many people in the Bible are like, oh, you want me to do that? Yeah, I don't think so. I'm going the other direction. And God's like, no, I'm going to
the
force
whole
you to do
Jonah
it.
story
Followed
is
by a
him running
fish.
Yeah.
away from a calling.
Yeah.
Right. So he was like, just be faithful in the steps. And that's kind of what happened was I just started meeting with more people and having coffees and just kind of getting a renewing of like, I was like, hey, you remember when I called you to coaching so you could pour into these lives? Those people are still there. All these former players of 16 years worth of playing, coaching football, playing for me. It's like,
Their parents.
they're all like 25 to 35 years old. They're young parents. They're newly married. They're, going through things that we felt like, I'm like, wow, we've almost been married 20 years. And it's like, we might have something to be able to share and give to these young men and now their wives and their kids and their families. And it was just through those just kind of intentional meetings where, anyway,
other people started like they see his connections, like they see who he knows, they see like, and so as far as like a business standpoint, they're seeing like, this person, if we could educate you on how to do certain things, then we can get you, he can get in the room with these people, he can get in the room with, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, but I'm just saying like, and so he had different things going on as far as like interviews with different people and like with different companies, regardless of the industry. And even an athletic director job came open and he applied to that and all these different things. He's like, I've got this and that file, I got this and this one and this and this one. And then it just was like closed door, open door. And what's super, super interesting is that one that opened the most and, as we got more clarity that this is direction needs to go in is a former player of his. I take care of his triplets. And so he's like, I really think Tristan would just kill it. Like he would just be such a great, asset to like what we do. I think he'd be amazing at it. Like, we're praying for you guys. Like, but I really, really would love, I'm going to get him in front of our president. Like, I really think that he, and anyway, it was just like all these different pieces kind of coming together and then this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
I suppose it's one of those things you don't realize that you are training and building skills that everyone would value of like, if you go like, well, a football coach can only coach football. And it's like, well, he has discipline, he can make long-term plans, he can communicate and motivate. That sounds like a salesman, a consultant, like a million things. It's like how I used to, when I was younger, any job interview I had in my 20s, I would make sure to mention that I grew up on a farm. So they would be like, oh, you can work.
You know how to work.
And you know that like the work's not done till the work's done. We like that. So
yeah.
Well, like even you went and interviewed, anyway, you met with, and that, you went and talked to somebody within the Cowboys organization and the guy said to you, who do they like to hire?
Yeah. He said, we want to hire former athletes. We want to hire, he's like, exactly what you're saying. He's like, because that was, again, a little bit of my fear at first of like, I don't have a skill set. And he was like, what did you do as a coach? And I was like, exactly what you're saying. I'm like, well, you plan and you problem solve and you lead and you figure out what to do and, follow it. You're part of a team and you're bringing value to each other. And, and that's where, like I said, it was a huge open door, but also, it's like being in insurance, I get to sit down and talk to people and help and answer the phone and reconnect. And, the insurance is just like I always said, like coaching, football was the vessel that I used to impact the lives. And it's like, well, now I get to use insurance as the vessel to, hey, let's go get coffee and sit down and talk about life. And oh, by the way, everything good. What do you need?
Yeah.
Chiropractic.
Yeah.
Chiropractic is the vessel. Like it's just like whatever you're doing is
so that's where I was gonna go. So like I feel like, okay, how do I say this without offending chiropractors? I don't feel like chiropractors have that option. Or we don't feel like we do. Like you, Tristan, like you were like, all right, this was a phase of my life that God used football to build these skills in me. And now I'm okay with closing that door and opening the next. And I feel like there are definitely chiropractors who are like, oh, no, that door is still wide open for me. This is like what I was born to do. But like I've told people, I don't think that my ultimate purpose, like when God was like putting me together and he was like, and she needs to be a chiropractor. Like, I think that chiropractic is a really great tool that is continuing to develop me and certain skills. But like, I don't feel, and then I think there are people within chiropractic that are like, would love to be able to like close that door and be like, cool. Maybe I could do insurance, but it's like, no, you don't leave. You never leave. But like, you're not allowed to close that door.
No.
You're not a real chiropractor. If, you know, like, and this,
you and I talked about this like a long time ago.
I was
I think
probably
in the very
drunk though. I
beginning.
don't remember. Tell me again. Most of our conversations, you
Oh
are
my
feeding
gosh.
me ranch waters.
Ah!
Okay, I just have to
They
say
are
before
good.
she says something meaningful that Denisa is the only person I know who drinks at the rate that I do. Like there have been so many times
Congratulations.
that we have been at a bar and I'm just like,
And there it
drink
is.
slow. And I'm like, oh, you're done. Sweet. Okay, yes, order another round.
I drink water the same way. I like drink, like it's unfortunate. Like I just have to make sure that there's water next to it or like it cannot be good, you know, so just have to make sure that there is fluid, but there is water next to it.
Yeah.
But I, like you and I talked about this early on in your podcast, was the difference between calling and assignment. And so like calling, like your purpose and your calling, but your assignment is in the vessel of what you're doing at the time. And so it's like your assignment can change, but the calling stays the same. Like your purpose stays the same, but your assignment in that, you know, in that expression of that purpose is where God is placing you at certain times. So it's good to, you know, question or know, like, am I in this? Like, am I in this because I feel like I should be in this and this is what I expected myself to be and whatever, or is this a natural progression into the next place that God is putting me and placing me? But I'm still the same, still expressing that purpose. But I know that we could be a real estate agent and be able to love on people. I know that we could be able to, you know, be a teacher and be able to love on people. I know we could be, you know, it's just like wherever that assignment is, you can still do his work.
I love that.
I feel like my assignment has definitely changed more towards like people in the last few years of like, and it's hard. I like the old assignment of just adjusting spines. That one was a lot easier. Your team has grown. You are in that now. Like, is this the biggest your team has been? Is this the first time you've had 3 chiropractors?
Yes, this is the first time I've had 3 chiropractors.
But you only have 2 CAs?
2 CAs currently.
That does not seem like enough.
Well, it's not.
It's not.
We're hiring CAs. Like it's more of just finding the right people, you know? So, we are currently hiring and trying to hire right now. We need way more CAs than we need docs, honestly. But it's just, we're trying to find the right people. You know how it is. If you get the wrong person in the wrong seat, you end up doing cleanup on aisle 15 for way too long. Which has been my last 2 years.
Yeah.
We are doing Cell right now. There's just always some sort of change of batter and you're having to go through and go, oh, well, that was dropped or that was never taken care of, or someone just, you know, was a fraud and said that they did it and they didn't. And, you know, those kinds of things. So
fun stuff.
But yeah, it's a bigger team. Like, honestly, like if I think God could foresee my mental breakdown and said, Tristan, hi, so this is not going to be good for you. You need to stop doing your job. Like, and I do feel like, I don't know how I would have navigated any of the change of team, the navigating the move, the new space, the build out, the training and pouring into team, which I've never had really honestly the capacity to really pour into people that I've hired as much as I have now, because of just the state of like what our family's dynamics like is just in where we could actually be and how I can do 2 kids, even with help. Like this is even with a nanny or, you know, even with that. And so being able to do that, create stability within the team, create like a positive environment that's, you know, more growth centered and actually builds up success for the people that work for me or work with me, but just more of like being able to create that culture. I was able to do that and not worry about him being gone in the middle of July all the way to December, and then have to navigate, working on all of this and the ins and outs and our kids and pickups and drop-offs and sports and all that, and be present. It's just, I think, it was perfect timing in the oversight of seeing like what was ahead for us and what our actual capacity was. And I'm super grateful that he was that intentional with us. And I know that he is that intentional with everyone. It's just seeing that intentionality. I'm just grateful that I had him, because honestly, he's like I was like, can you hook up the speaker system? Can you do our security? Like anything that it could save us money as well, because it was just such a big
You start running out of
in.
money real fast.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Everyone's
These
like,
are walls.
Oh my gosh.
And you're giving me walls, and I choose cement flooring. Like, what are you doing?
I know. Tristan, how much do you do much with Serving Life?
No, not in the like day to day, other than just trying to support Denise and anything she needs. No, I mean,
do you ever want to?
Yeah, I mean,
are you like kind of pulling him in now that he's got a little more? Well, no, he went and filled his time.
No, I mean, like, I always ask him, like, I'm like, and as far as like coaching goes, because I'm like, if I see a problem, I'm like, I'm gonna fix it, and then I'm just gonna, hunker down, create a system, be like, follow the system, do it this way, and like his coaching is like, I'm like, how do you like build someone up? Like, how do you take someone into believe in themselves? And he has way more patience than I do. It's just more like, so I'll like bounce things off of him, because I'm like, how did you navigate that? Like,
Hi, friends. I wanted to take a quick break from the episode to make sure you all know about the cool stuff we have happening over on Patreon. This is a platform where I can offer you extra content, behind the scenes interviews, quick trainings, and exclusive trainings answering your exact question live, back to back with me. It's a way for me to more directly interact with you and post some fun things that would never be in the normal weekly episodes. To check out what we're doing and to sign up, click the link in the show notes.
Hey, She Slayers. I just wanted to take a moment to ask you, have you heard of PX? I don't know. Have I mentioned them before? So they're practically everywhere these days, and I am so excited to have them as a sponsor on our show, because they are on a mission that I can seriously get behind. So Dr. Tony and his team have designed a pediatric, prenatal, and family chiropractic training program that has online and live event training opportunities to learn step-by-step the science, clinical protocols, and business systems behind building a thriving pediatric and family chiropractic practice. Now, here's what's extra cool. It doesn't matter if you're a student, startup, or practicing chiropractor. I mean, I am a member and I've been in practice for over 12 years now. Each and every bit of their training is applicable to you and where you're at. I've been a part of PX for a while now, and I can say that there's no one better in the space to lead you and to lead this profession than Dr. Tony and his team. If you want to take your practice to the next level in serving more kiddos and families in your community, then you must check out PX. I will drop a link in the show notes so you can head over to thepediatricexperience.com and let them know She Slays the podcast sent you there for a special little bonus. Hey, She Slayers, I have partnered with Well Aligned and Above Down Apparel to give all of my listeners something really special. So listen up, don't skip. A free premium t-shirt, okay? You get a free t-shirt. So just head over to wellaligned.com/She Slays to claim your listener offer. That's all you got to do. Above Down has the coolest and most comfy chiropractic tees that showcase your personality. My favorite is the Mabel. I love it. They're super soft and a great conversation starter if you do seek conversation with, your patients. We call it table talk. What more can you ask for? So I've also been using well-aligned materials for years to educate my patients. They have high-quality ROF folders, patient handouts, office forms, posters, and a ton more. So why recreate the wheel when there's a perfectly designed communication tool ready for you to help educate and inform?
head over to wellaligned.com/sheslays to claim your free t-shirt. And I'll drop a link in the show notes so you can check it out. I'd like to take a moment to thank one of our primary sponsors of the podcast, Insight CLA. The Insight tech moves the message off the spine and into the nervous system, where the magic of the adjustments can be measured and tracked. Everyone from newborns to seniors are being scanned in my practice and in thousands of other practices like ours, so they can be examined and inspired to choose chiropractic care. It's like an instant referral machine because the scans are so visible and informative. Like, what patient wouldn't want to know how their nervous system is performing? The staff at CLA are ready to take care of you and answer any questions you may have. They also have an incredible online academy that can help train everyone in the office and help them to feel confident on how to get perfect scans and how to interpret the results. We have been using the Insight technology in our clinics for over 7 years now, and it is a complete game changer for conversion, retention, and patient education. Click the link below in the show notes as She Slays listeners get preferred pricing and hundreds of dollars off their purchase.
You know, give me your coaching skills.
That was one of the questions I had, was how your guys' skill set has impacted each other. Of, like, does Tristan help you with managing the unmanageable people? Because I'm sure coaching high school football, you had to deal with some interesting adolescent personalities and parents.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good it's a good dynamic. And I think we've always joked, like, people are like, "Oh, Tristan, you're working for Denisa now that you're not coaching?" And I'm like, "No." And we always joke, we're like, that would not be good.
No.
Like, it's great for our marriage for us to be able to support each other behind the scenes. Publicly we're very supportive of each other, but when you get into the details of,
we would do it very differently.
Yeah, it would be hard for us to, just because, again, we are very similar in a lot of ways, I think, just as far as,
you're both used to being in charge,
Yeah, it's
right. I think I think that would probably be it.
But like I said, it's great for us to be able to be the yin and yang in the background of, hey, have you thought about this? She did the same for me, in every aspect of, that I've tried to do for her, where it's like, as I'm coaching, she's like, hey, thought about this, what are you doing here? Just trying to help each other in the best way possible, being each other's biggest cheerleader.
Setting up an Instagram account for your Park Cities football.
Yeah, she's the and it's funny, like, just being that person for each other. And then also, like, I've loved being the, for her practice and what she's created, she's the visionary, and I've loved being able to help integrate a lot of these things. Like, she'll say these things, when she was doing her course, and when she was building out her practice, and when she was growing a team, it's like, what do you need? She's like, well, do you know how to do this? And I'm like, I don't. And, we were talking earlier about it. It's like, I don't know how to do it, but you know what? I'll spend a couple hours Googling. Yeah.
I'll make some
mistakes. Let me watch a couple of YouTube videos. I'll figure it out, And so, being able to be that person where, same thing, like, hey, I'm thinking about doing some private coaching. She's like, all right, here's what you need to do. You need this, 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 and this. And I'm like, I don't know how to do any of those. She's like, I do. I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
awesome.
It's good.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. So, like, you had a career that had like a very clear line of, like, you assistant coach, you head coach, you hopefully coach college, you may be assistant coach in the NFL. Like, that feels like something that has a life mapped out. So now that that's not, like, what does, like, 10 years from now for you guys look like? Or is that still in the air? Or, like, I mean, has there just been new, like, what the hell are we going to do when we're empty nesters in 12 years?
And I think for us, like,
well, that's the question you asked yourself
100%.
When he was accepting, like, looking at these job positions or whatever, was, where do we see ourselves in 10 years?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Denisa when I took this job, like, my goal is in 10 years, I'd love for Denisa to be able to say, and hopefully sooner, just to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to, whatever, I've got a good partner. I want to step out more. I want to sell, whatever it looks like for her. Like, I would love to be able to, because, again, coaching high school football, you don't get to live in the mansions, with
Yeah.
the salary you make coaching high school football. Like we sacrificed a lot for that time. And now it's, I'd love to be able to, again, impact lives and use this as a vessel to reach people. But at the same time, it's like, I'd love to be able to be really, build a successful book of business in insurance. And that's kind of what, we've always had from a couple, like from a marriage standpoint of early on, we really realized that we needed to prioritize each other, and for us, it looks like, trying to go out on a weekly date night without kids, trying to take trips without kids, just us, making these things a priority because again, like we love our kids and we want to support them in every way we can. But
when they leave,
they're going to leave.
Yeah.
Do you have a relationship?
Yeah. What does this look like in 10 years? In 10 years, I want to be more in love with Denisa than I am today. And I want to be so excited about the next chapters as our kids are growing up and hopefully getting married and, doing great things and being able to watch them. But like, at the end of the day, like these two people here, like this is
put the
who's
work
going to be
in
there
to keep that. Yeah.
I feel
and I
like
want to
so
make
many
sure
people forget that. I feel like you get thrown into survival mode. I just remembered it 2 years ago. Probably when our kids, so we have 8 and 11 and you have 6 and 12,
13,
6 and 13. Yeah. Oh yeah. She just turned a teenager.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it was right around the time, a similar time where, it was like, oh, wow. You're just like starting to like, I can breathe. The kids can like get themselves breakfast. And then you're like, oh, wow, I'm not in survival mode. There's going to be a time where it's you and I again. That's what we signed up for, was you and I. And then I forgot that for year after year of like babies and breast milk and diapers and like, and
You're just hanging on.
Totally. It's like survival. And then it's also like, maybe sometimes like comfortability or like you're just like I don't know.
Well, and I think maybe like identity even of like our kids is who we are. And we are the little league team and the dance team and the cheer squad. And it's like, this is who we are. It's like this, because it occupies, it does. If you allow it to, your kids' activities can literally occupy every free space in your calendar.
That feels like, I don't know, personally growing up, like I played a bunch of sports, but my dad was a farmer, so he really couldn't go to a lot. And my mom had a job. So like we would just get rides with other families. They'd come to some stuff.
Not okay anymore.
But like, that doesn't feel like it's okay anymore. It's like, if your kid likes football, then one, you need to get them to every practice. You need to be at every game. You need to sign them up for the camp. You need to you need to basically be a professional parent.
You guys are in the second or third richest community in America. Like,
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
They're specifically in like a environment where it is like, if you want that, you gotta do that.
You have to be super involved.
And it's driven by FOMO.
It's all FOMO. It's all like, oh, so-and-so's doing it. So-and-so's doing quarterback camp. Somebody's going to do clubs. Someone's doing an extra 7-on-7 team. Oh, you're doing this. It's like, it's really.
And I've spent a lot of my time as doing the private lessons. I feel like one of the biggest things that I've hopefully been able to bring value to some of these families, that they're like, well, my 8-year-old really loves playing football. We want to do 3 sessions a week with you. And I'm like, he's 8. We don't need, like, let's go once a month and see if he likes it. Like,
that's not good business sense.
It's terrible business. It's terrible business. But there's so many of these people that are in the private sector, that are like,
banking.
Well, if a little is good, then guess what's better? More. And then your neighbor sees you doing it and they're like, oh man, we
don't want them to miss out. We don't want
Johnny's got he's got a private coach that he works with 4 days a week. We want to go 5 days. And it's just, it drives where, again, back to what we said, like the things we want to prioritize, like the non-negotiables of, I want to be a great husband and father and follower of Christ. It's like, when you got to be clear on what the non-negotiables are, and then you try to fit the rest of the life into it. And for our kids, it's like, we've even said, I know our son's only 6, but even with our 13-year-old, that, hey, we're going to do one thing right now. Here's the choices. You want to do dance, you want to do gymnastics, it's like, pick one and let's go do it and have fun with it. Let's do it one night a week, or, a weekend a month. And then when it's time to the next thing, we're going to go to the next thing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to decide you're going to be a professional gymnast when you're 6 years old.
Or
Right.
cheer.
Yeah,
All
where it's like-
cheer.
Yeah, I was gonna say Layton's in cheering, right?
Well,
Yeah.
she is, but like in this community, I mean, it's now become very like, I mean, they go to Summit or they go to the Worlds, you know, and they're winning. Like it's like on steroids.
And
which
it's not a
I used to be
judgment.
part
I was
of.
gonna say it's not a judgment on anybody that chooses that.
No.
If you want to, if that fits into what jams for your family, go do it. It's just for us, it was like this is not. And from my perspective of, I saw what it took to be elite, and to be a Division I college football player, coach football. It's like, and guess what? Like it's hard for any parent to hear, but a lot of it has to do with the old gene pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, because how many
Yeah,
of
they
these
always give you the
professional
lessons. Yeah, of
Yeah,
like,
I
you
mean,
can
it's
do
like-
anything you dream of. And it's like, I don't see a lot of 5'6" guys in the NBA who just really wanted to work
that just
hard.
loved it. Yeah, and they just no, it's like, guess what? There's a little bit of chance to it that, again, like I was talking to a friend that he's actually one of the guys I work with at the insurance group, and he was a Division I college golfer. And he said he didn't pick up a golf club until he was almost 14 years old. And you know what? It just had it, and it's like, how many stories, like, I can't tell you the number of stories of players that probably are getting drafted, the NFL draft is going on right now. It's like, how many of these players, you hear their story and it's like, they didn't even play football till they were a junior in high school. And it's like, you know what? But they also are 6'8" and weigh 350 and can run a 4.5.
Yeah.
It's like that part isn't built on love of the game.
we were having lunch yesterday and they were, doing the draft stuff on the TV, and they were talking about how they didn't think this guy could be an NFL quarterback because he was only 5'10", 210 pounds of pure muscle. And it's just like, how terrifying is the NFL that, like, if I gained 30 pounds of muscle, they would go, he's way too tiny. He's going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
Right, totally. But even like, Scotty Scheffler, Tristan, he was his PE coach in 5th grade here.
Oh, that is
Wait,
awesome.
whoa. So what?
Scotty Scheffler, he's on the PGA Tour.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
right now. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's doing a good job.
He's another
He's a
graduate of
Howard.
Howard. And he was in my 5th grade PE class.
He was captain of his basketball team.
Yeah, captain of the basketball team.
He wasn't golf all the time.
Well, they talk about like Phil Mickelson could dunk, like, these guys who are just incredible athletes. And then
They're
you
just
go like,
gifted.
oh, yeah, it's just something.
I mean, they played other sports, which is good
Right.
for your system.
Yep.
It's good for, anyway, we as parents, we kind of go a little on a soapbox about that, just because we just see it all the time. And then as chiropractors, obviously being in this community, you're like, I'm speaking to a parent and I'm like, your child's overbooked.
Mm-hmm.
Your child is like they're stressing their nervous system. They're doing like, there's no margin. Like,
Mhm.
so where can you give space? And it's like, well, and then I love when they're like, well, we can't get here. We just got to get to football, and you're like, so you're going to give up the thing that's going to give the nervous system margin so that you can overbook the system and the system can go more into overdrive. Great choice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like, let me know how that works out.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I've seen you guys mention several times that I think is probably part of it, and how you see people not doing that reset, is you guys have a foundation in Christ. So like, you have a thing that you come check back in with and go like, this is the truth, and all things are seen through this lens. And I could see in a lot of American society, not to get soapboxy, but if you don't have that foundational lens to look through, then the only lens you're looking through is FOMO. So like, if you don't have that reset, if you don't have that like, whoa, it's going crazy, how do we evaluate this? How do we evaluate this? You guys have a good foundation. I'm curious of like, did you both come up through the church, and like, or was that something you developed as you got older or as you got married?
Yeah. I definitely, grew up in the church, but my own faith, like, it has to be your own personal, like, choice to develop the relationship with the Lord versus like, I go here because my parents went here and I'm piggybacking off my parents' faith and all that kind of stuff, which, is a choice as you go along. But, that's how I met Tristan, was in a college ministry group. So, was in Aggies for Christ, because we both went to A&M. And he grew up very similar. I don't want to speak for you.
No, yeah, we both grew up in Christian households where it was prioritized to go to church. But and both of us, I think, could say that we both, became Christ followers
in our own way.
Yeah, in our own way. But then, just like we're saying, it as you grow and get older, you have to make these decisions for yourself. Like mom's not taking you to church on Sunday morning when you're in college and when you're married. And we say all the time that if it wasn't for our foundation, our
marriage would be gone.
Yeah, there's no way that we would have been able to.
My life would be way different. I'd be seeking whatever would fill the void of what would give me security. Like, and so for our three, that would be praise, validation, like wherever I can get it. Do I need it in my looks? Do I need it in my efforts? Do I need it in my achievements? Do I need it in it'd be wheels off, and it'd be just something that I'm scurrying around and chasing around. And like, not to say that there's not that going on anyway, but just more of like I can only imagine, if there wasn't like the anchor back to like, okay, well, if I really do trust that the Lord is unfolding things the way that they're supposed to, then why are you spinning your wheels so much? And I think that verse, I think I showed you, Lauren, we went to If one time, and I was like, what was the one about like, you can rise up in the morning or stay up late at night, but it was like the striving efforts, if you're striving without the blessing of the Lord, it's like you're doing it for nothing. And it's kind of like, if this is meant for you, if God's meant this for you, there's no way you can miss it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what helps me as an achiever and an Enneagram 3 is that there's nothing that I will miss if God intends it for me, which gives my soul a little more peace and ease versus me thinking that I have to do it on my own efforts and own accord.
And on timing.
I know.
That's the hard one, the
thing.
timing. Yeah.
I know. And that's
like, I was called to do this and I'm going to rush it. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get to the top of that mountain before anyone else.
Right. Because I mean, like we've seen it with people like going after their careers and everything, and then forgetting and taking for granted the relationship that you have with your spouse. And then you're like, how did we get here? And how do I not know you? Or how do I, I've let this be priority numero uno, or it's basically been me. And then it's just like, what happened to you? Where's our disconnect? And then kind of going after your relationship in a whack-a-mole style, like trying to, fix your world and be like, it's not as pretty as it used to be. You need to package it back, like put it back in the box and tie the bow on it and make it look pretty. But I mean, like if we didn't have the Lord, we wouldn't be together, period. I can confidently say that.
Yeah, it would have been hard to see us being together this long again, but it's when you view it through the grace you're given, that we've been given, and then it's like, okay, you know what, I can kind of forgive the fact that, whatever, she forgives me all the time because we fall short every day, but it's like, you know what, like
I'd rather do life with him, like in him having that anchor, knowing that if I like go off on spin my wheels, then at least I have someone who's going to anchor me back. Or if he goes off, then I can anchor him back. It's like you need that person that's going to be like, yes, and like,
and the blessings that come. That's the other part of it. It's like, it's not like we're just we have to stay married, but it's like, no, it's like we've seen the joy and the redemption and just the way that God has used the way we've screwed it up all these years. Like we continually screw it up, and then God's like, you know what, I can use that too. And hey, you know what, there's a couple that's struggling with the same thing, go share with them. And hey, you know what, you're struggling with something, hey, that couple just shows up in your life and is like, hey, we went through that last year. And it's like the way that God weaves these great awesome stories together, and it's like, yeah, there's no other way that could have happened. And it's the joy of the day-to-day too, of just trying to be present in the moment. Denisa, years ago, we kind of have adopted it as our family kind of mantra, just like, be where your feet are.
I love it.
Show up today and just be curious about the day. Like I said, I can't tell you how many times she told me that over the last year as I've been kind of, all over the place. And she's like, be where your feet are today. Like, show up today and just see what God's going to show you. Open the word up, just be diligent in the daily, and then be curious about today, because that's all you got to worry about. And,
Yeah.
that's why we love doing the date nights and the trips. We obviously take family trips too, but we love the intentional time, just the two of us, where it's like,
where do you see God's taking you? Where do you, what did you see this past year? Where is God speaking into your life? Like, where do you feel like, what do you like? What is your heart's desire? Is that coming alongside what you're seeing more of in the word? What is like, so it's kind of like a vision casting, but alongside like our with faith, like it's kind of like God's in the vision casting meeting, and it's like, here's what he did this past year.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we feel like we're being pushed towards? What would we like to create? What would we like God to create in our lives? And then how can we make steps and efforts towards that, to create more of the life that we're wanting to do, like wanting to have more time with the kids or whatever. So, I mean, it's definitely a trust situation, and definitely I feel like I'm always kind of like, I'm uncomfortable. Like I'm just, this past couple of years has just been very, I'm like faith building. I would look at other people's lives and kind of envy it in a way of like,
it seems easier.
Yeah. And I'm like, God, why is it, it just feels
like that's the phase that we're in though. I feel like mid 30s to 40. Hopefully it stops at like 41, guys.
I don't think it's
I don't know. It gets better because like you talk to like a 48 to like 55-year-old and they're like, oh yeah, I remember when I cared about that. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, it's coming. But like, no, there are these times where I'm just like, am I doing this wrong? Like, but I mean, he doesn't promise it's going to be easy. And that's where I really struggle with some, is it like prosperity gospel? And I'm just like, no, there's no promise that this is going to be easy. Like I can be faithful and do the assignment and it can still suck.
Yeah.
And that, I don't like that.
And I liked what you said kind of about redemption too, of how God can use anything. I feel like the best moments for us spiritually, and I'll speak especially for myself, have been the darkest moments of our marriage. And those are the moments that you go like, oh, we were steering the ship and it went wrong. Like we showed what we do when we run it. Let's see what happens when God runs it.
Yeah.
That's
huge. It's so true.
So you guys you mentioned a couple like different boundaries that you do. So do you actually do weekly date nights, or that's like the goal?
No.
That's the goal. That's the
goal.
And
since you started this whole thing and your test and everything, we haven't got a weekly date night in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. But I mean, I would say on average, when you look back at 52 weeks in a year, we're probably
48.
Yeah.
Wow.
The last couple of years, we've probably been pretty consistent with it. Because again, and the thing that we love about it too, is that you enter these moments with, if I bring up right before bedtime, like, hey, what you did really made me upset, right? Or whatever, like pick the thing.
Yeah.
Like that's not received very well at 10 o'clock, right? But at dinner,
bring it up on date night?
Well, I mean, you don't, not every time.
Oh, wait, never mind. I don't want that date night.
You enter in these moments where it's like, this is an opportunity, or she'll ask or I'll ask like, hey, what am I doing well? What can I do better? And it's like, you enter in with these different expectations.
You're ready to hear it. You're ready to talk.
Yeah, exactly. You have
created the space
to
talk
space
about it.
You guys seem like you have a really good like agenda for certain meetings. So I feel like there have been date nights where Kirby and I, I get dressed up and we go out to eat and I'm like, we talked about a date night where as we were leaving or walking from the car to the restaurant, I was like, I don't want to talk about work. I don't want to I don't want to
get
talk
it twisted, Lauren. We had those
stuff. And then we sat there and I just drank my wine and it was like, so what do we talk about?
Right. That's great.
Can you guys make like some conversation cards maybe?
Listen, there's a lot of times where, I'm going to talk about whatever, the college football game that I watched, or it's like, there's just
quiet.
Yeah. Or it's just.
It's not like that every time. It's not like that every time. It's just more of like, if there's something to talk about, we have a time carved out where it's just him and I. It's not like the kids are interrupting. They want to tell us about something, or they're asking us to do something or whatever. It's like not in front of them. We are together, like we, you know, and it's more intentional. So we have time and space to hear each other and also, you know, tell them something, you know, or talk to each other about it. But our date nights are not like that every
No.
week. I don't want to get that. I don't want to say that. So yeah, I usually will have a ranch water that
that loosens it up.
Yeah.
Now I want a ranch water.
Okay.
I know.
This afternoon we can have one. So you guys were the inspiration for us having our family annual meeting, or like our marriage annual meeting. Because I believe it was Tristan, you were telling me about it at lunch, right?
Yeah.
And so I just wanted you guys to kind of explain what that means for you, what you guys do in that annual meeting and how you like approach that.
Take it away.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know how long ago it started. It was maybe 7 years,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know. But we just like, it's funny because our anniversary is January 10th. So it's like, it's so, new year. So it just kind of happened to where it was like, we want to do an anniversary trip. And then we would find like, we would just be like more, when we're by ourselves, we're not very like, let's go do this, unless it's that kind of a trip. But we're more of like a, like settle down. We want to be near water. Usually we just go to our favorite place in Seaside. And then we just like, we have our books and, you know, we'll just be by the ocean, just listening to the ocean or whatever. And no matter what the temperature, and we'll just be there and we'll talk about like, just talk about life, talk about, the year. I know like, specifically in the last 2 years, it's been, talking about what God has done, like what has transpired, which is, I did carry that into my annual meeting for SLC. And that is really eye-opening. And now I do it quarterly for our team. Like, this is what we did this quarter so that they can get more context. Like, we did that, like that happened. Like, you know what I mean? It's not just like numbers and all this stuff. It's like, we revamped the system or we redid this. Like, you know, Tristan's like, your job changed. Like, you know, like this all unfolded. You spoke to this person that evolved into this, like, you know, all these different elements. And then you're able to see, like, it's looking in the rear view mirror and going, it's easier to trust God moving forward when you get to see like what happened this past year. And so piggybacking off the rear view mirror, then going forward and saying, you know, this is where, like, and sometimes like even at the lake house, Lauren, which I'll still need to come out to the lake house.
Both of you come.
Yeah.
Ebles
Come
will
on.
crash it.
We need
No,
like
there's no way in hell.
need a marriage retreat.
Foot in Wisconsin without Tony Ebel being like, Tristan.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, y'all need to come down there. But I don't even know where they're going with that. What did I say? That y'all need to come to like, because we'll be when we sit, like, I don't know what it is about being near water. I feel like it's just, you know, and then that's also like Psalm 23, like he leads you beside still waters, he restores your soul. Like that's where I feel like that's something that really speaks to us and like to my physiology. But sitting there just kind of gives us more calmness, but we're able to say, like, I'm like, look, this is where I'm at. Like, this is where emotionally where I'm at. This is physically where I'm at, spiritually where I'm at. I'm depleted. I haven't really, like, you know, if I feel weak in something or emotionally, like, I don't feel like I have that, but, you know, we didn't really connect that well. This, you know, whatever, I feel like, you know, there's not enough time for me, or like, I mean, like, I feel like we kind of speak our minds about like, this is where I'm at, where are you at? And then there's like, what can we do moving forward that's going to help us be better for ourselves, each other, and our, you know, in our goals and what we're wanting to create and our kids and all that kind of stuff. It kind of it's not really like,
not super structured, honestly. I mean, it's about, I feel like, you know, for me, and for both of us, I mean, it's a process of like the preparation for the trip. I feel like is almost just as important as the actual trip itself. And really the preparation is the only thing that is involved in that is just praying. Like, we are very diligent about like, we are praying over this time of like, God, just let it be what it needs to be. And there's been some trips where it's
just
like,
rest.
we didn't even get out the calendars and the journals. And it was like, we're just going to sit here in the chairs on the beach and look at the waters and just enjoy each other. Like just talk and realize why we like being married. You know, it's like, and there's other times where it's gotten into the books of like, let's put the calendars and logistics.
Yeah, when is this trip going to happen? Do we have the budget for that?
Right, exactly. Where it gets really into the details of like, man, this, you know, wow, we look at this year ahead and whatever it is. And it's like, but creating that space for it. And I feel like that's, you know, kind of how God at least has worked in our relationship. It's like when you allow space for God to do things,
it comes
He's faithful in doing things. And it sounds super simple and really easy, and it's not, you know, but it's like our weekly date night came about because literally we were on one of these trips one year and Denise was like, we don't ever go out. Like, yeah, we go out to the restaurant, but it's like, we go out with our kids and it's like, we'll swing in here on the way home. And but it's not an intentional, like, and we're like, okay, well, let's carve it out. What does it look like? And it's changed. Some years it's been Wednesday nights or Thursday nights or a Saturday, or, you know, it's like, depending on what flow and season of life we're in. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, this is something that she said was a priority. This is something we realize that we need. And it's like, okay, let's put it on the books and let's make it happen. And again, you remove the expectation of what it's supposed to look like. And then it's like, God's going to be faithful in showing up and giving you exactly what you need.
Because that was I was like, we're going to go into this structure. We're going to have like, you know, like we're going to have the
Thursday night and we'll make a list of restaurants and good, and we'll make sure they have a high enough Yelp review.
Totally. Or like we just go back to the same place over and over again. Lauren's been to Honor Bar. We love that place. And it's R&D's about the same.
Yep.
Wherever Carney's sandwich is served, he's wanting to go there. But I would always be like, okay, we got to do a planner and we got to do this. And like, that worked last year. So then I piggyback off of what we did last year. And it was like, that's not how this is evolving. This trip is not requiring that. This trip is requiring this direction. And so I resist but we did this last year and I liked how that flow worked out. And it's like, and then I didn't know what we would embark on that past year or then in front of us. And we needed what we had at that time during that trip. So it was like, we bring all the things and then we see how it unfolds.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
I like that because when we did ours, I like researched and like made agendas.
Well, they
and
like went somewhere. So maybe it's a trip.
Lauren's always up for a trip.
I always
am. Hey, y'all get to go on
you were
trips.
talking about us coming to you. I was telling you to come to our cabin. No, we'll come to you. We'll come to your cabin.
That way Tony can't find us.
That way Tony can't find us.
Hey, we'll do both.
Actually, you know, I feel so blessed to have so many very strong marriages surrounding us within chiropractic. And I actually reached out to Tony and I was like, hey, you should like host like a couples spiritual weekend and like invite
that's what we were wanting to do in Carlton Landing.
Yeah, like
got Joey and Devin there.
There's just some really beautiful, soulful conversations that I'm just like, wow, you guys are our friends. Like you're like marriage counselors, and I'm like, this is amazing. So yeah, we just need more community like that within chiropractic and within faith and within parenting and within all of that. So okay, final question because I want to like protect your time and we kind of Denisa, you know, we talked about Tristan and what is like where his heart is being led, where God is leading him in this next phase. What about you? Like, I feel like you're coming up for air, you know, and Tristan's change is allowing that, and you're in the new space and you've got a team and like, what is next for you?
It's a great question. You know, I feel like, you know, there was so much done more in the chiropractic space before the last 2 years, I think for me, speaking or, you know, podcasts or, you know, the launching of my course or whatever. But like, I really withdrew from that at the time because it was like not where my energy needed to be. Everything needed to be so back in the granular of SLC and, you know, I just, you know, realizing like where like everything is kind of fruited out of is the hub, and where everything kind of started was the practice. And so it, you know, sometimes like choosing to look away from the practice and then, or saying I trust who's got the practice at the time, and then finding out that that was not what I needed to do, or not what I needed to do. I thought that, and it should be, there should be some trust involved and all that kind of stuff, but to find out what has actually happened and behind the scenes, I needed a full gut job. And so it took me it's almost like we restarted practice again. It was almost like restarting everything. Like I went from, basics, from in all systems, granular, relearning all of it for myself so I could confidently teach it to other people, to going, that's inefficient, why there has to be a better way, or and it was good for me to be back on the ground, but it required me to extract myself from being available to, be in the chiropractic profession that's outside of being in my practice, and just being like, how can we make this more fruitful? Because I'm tired of being within these four walls. I was tired of I felt restricted and tight, and our lease was up in 2020, but we all know what happened in 2020. So we were forced to kind of stay put, for 2 years, and, knowing that the next jump in this community would require a lot of investment and a lot of faith, and knowing that it's, you're going to go big or you go home. So I just really had to I knew that more really big bills were going to be on the horizon. And then for me being small, and for me being small, I felt like I was still playing small. And so locally, I feel like I played big in the profession, and I felt like I was playing small in my neck of the woods. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so it was I felt like there was an incongruency there. And so being you know what, you really need to put yourself out. If this is really going to be fruitful, and it has been fruitful, and I don't want to give it any not credit, but I don't feel like I gave it 100%. And I do feel like we're doing that now. And God has literally grown us out of every single place. And then I was we've grown out of this place. I have to, again, look in the rearview mirror. So out of this whole trust time, going to and getting all the things for the build out and everything, I was look in the rearview mirror. Is this the right thing? I kept coming back to him. I was am I going to be able to do this? Am I really going to do this? And he's and I keep looking, I'm we outgrew that one. I sweated a lot when we went to this one, and then I'm sweating more going into this one. And so I think going, ahead, I really honestly don't know right now. We're blessed to have what we have, and I feel making sure that the team is supported, making sure that our people, or people who work there, know how to pour into our people properly and well is important. I do feel I can have a little bit more into doing stuff like this or anything like that, because usually I'm in doctors' meetings and just training or whatever. And it's just that season that I never got that opportunity to do before, and I finally had the opportunity to do now. So it was something that I was always envious of, even in our say clubs, but for practice, not management, but groups that we were in and everything. Everyone's oh yeah, and I train my people at this time, and I'm I don't have the capacity to do that. I'm honestly we got to learn by the seat of our pants. It was always that kind of thing. And so I would like to be ahead of it. I'd like to be a little more intentional pouring into people, but from the season that I just went through. I feel I don't want to ever share things or assume that, I know things that I can speak into other people's lives that is something that I haven't navigated myself, or at least point them in the direction of the person that has gone through that. I think they would do a good job speaking into their lives about that. But I do feel what we have been called to, and what are also, what's so interesting, our church pointed us out on, was just how they're you need to bring more people in to your home. And I feel that kind of also is in this, we have that lake house, and I've met with different people on how to have a retreat, and talking about marriage within our profession. Some of this, people are falling apart. It's a thing. And people aren't talking about that from stages. They're not talking about that from, it's yeah, you can be successful, but at what cost? Can you be successful in your business and also have a successful marriage? Yes. Can you be, you know, and it's like, but what does that look like? And what's the give and take on that, and how knowing each other and all that kind of stuff. So I do feel like there is a little pull into that direction. And
awesome.
I don't know, it doesn't have to look pretty, but we can just get people on a boat and
Okay.
have some fun and community.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
I
what I've
love it.
learned. We don't,
Yeah.
you don't need to have an agenda necessarily. We can be prepared for things to be serious or not, or just sit. We can, well, we will be your first test subjects. That's fine.
Yeah, if you want to put us in a boat,
Come
we'll
on.
be
Let's
there.
go.
Come on.
He knows
Yeah,
how to drive it,
I
whatever.
was gonna say, we tell each other all the time, like, because it's a part of life. I feel like that you look around, and you mentioned it earlier, Lauren, about just like that looked easy for them, and maybe it was easy for them, but you know what? Everybody's doing some easy things, and everybody's doing some hard things,
Mhm.
and it's like, you know, she'll say it to me, I'll say it to her, where it's like, man, I wish. Look, did you see what they did? I wish we could do that. And it's like, you know what? Like she'll go, there's only been one Tristan and Denisa Weber. And like, we're navigating this unique life that we're creating together. And it's like, this is one of one.
Yeah.
And, you know, and for Kirby and Lauren, it's going to look different. And for us, it's going to look different. And for whoever else, it's going to look different. But it's like, all of those can be successful and look completely different. And that's great. And that's exciting. And that's how God made us.
Oh, I
So-
I
love it.
love it.
All right. Well, I don't
We
even
do this
know.
more often. This is way
No
more
I
fun.
know.
kidding. No kidding. I'm like, I feel like Kirby has like 7 different questions down here. We
Well,
didn't even get to.
they naturally walked into so many of them that I was like, that's perfect.
Oh.
If you guys have a few more minutes, if you can stick around for our bonus, like quick speed round questions for our
Cool.
Patreon people.
Yeah.
But do you
For
want to say
now-
bye to the
for
normal?
now, we'll just say thank you guys so much for being on this. This was, I don't like to play favorites, but this is probably one of my favorite date nights that we've done. So
Love you
until-
guys.
yeah. All right. Until next week, She Slayers. Bye.